You've probably heard of the Consumer Price Index, the Producer Price Index. You've heard of a Retail Trend Index. There's one index that the Fed follows more closely and loves more than any other, and that's something called Personal Consumption Expenditures. It's a mouthful. It's abbreviated as PCE, but it is very important to Jerome Powell. And he says the best read of all on trends on inflation, and the trend was good in this latest report, as it was on the so-called core front. That's when you X out food and energy. Of course, you and I aren't so lucky to X out food and energy costs at home, but the fact of the matter is both seem to be stable and pave the way for a likely cut in interest rates, maybe in September. Many others are saying possibly 2 more to go with them. That might be a leap, but the market's taking a leap on that today. Scott Martin following it closely, the Kingsview Asset Management CIO, Fox News contributor. Scott, why is this report loved more than any other by the Fed? That part I don't get.
Yes, and food and energy, too, Neil, is my life, so I agree that's a tough part of this index. But it's one thing, too, that the Fed likes this index so much more than others because it's very specific. It breaks out a lot of neat things when it comes to shelter and rent and things like that that some of the other indexes kind of mix together. So the Fed follows this one because it actually tracks, I believe, Neil, more closer to the true inflation numbers that are really out there vis-a-vis some of the other stuff that you hear like PPI and CPI and all those other fun abbreviations that are out there. Here's the takeaway today, though, my friend. I don't think this number is soft enough. I don't think it's quite enough to push the Fed to that rate cut that everybody so dearly wants in that PG-13 movie for the guy to get the girl, and for the Fed to make the cut. I just don't see it yet because the Fed is getting closer and closer to the election, Neil. We've got 3 meetings left in the year, September, November, and December. They're in play. I think the Fed stays mute the whole rest of the year, the whole rest of the way, and just leaves rates where they are.
You might be right, but they have been known to move in election years, so there is that precedent. And I think some of them, not all of them, Scott, to your point, but some of them are beginning to fear that this slowdown could take up steam here. We're seeing it at a lot of airlines that are seeing, passengers cut back on things and on future bookings. We're seeing it in some retail sales, not all, but the first hints of that. We saw it even in Ford, which was clobbered yesterday, dinged a little bit today because it's having a devil of a time selling cars, let alone, some of these electric vehicles. So maybe they feel that alone means we can't have egg in our face and have a recession on our hands if we don't move now. What do you think?
Very true. And if you look at years past, Neil, when we have cut rates, there's usually something terribly wrong. And usually when the Fed cuts rates, too, my friend, as you noted, it's usually too late. The house and the cow, right. the cars and the cow and whoever it is, the horse that is, I'm trying to think of, are out of the barn. So it's already too late. So the Fed has been late to the game on that. But I'll tell you something else. When we see those things tail off, you mentioned personal consumption expenditures and things like that, course PCE numbers. When we see consumption come back, when we see it go down, when we see flights be taken less, that's also coming off recent highs. We've seen prices come down, which is likely to happen because we had such an abundance of price increases over the course of the last couple of years. So that could be just a general deflationary kind of situation that should level off as well and make the Fed be right in staying put here.
There was a great rotation this past week, today notwithstanding, out of the high-flying technology stocks that had disproportionately lifted the S&P 500, certainly sent the NASDAQ soaring. And that this is slowly continuing, a little less today. But what do you make of that, and is it something we should worry about?
Nothing I don't think to worry about. I think what we should worry about is if you don't buy in on some of this weakness. We've been telling a lot of our clients, Neil, when you see these pullbacks in NVIDIA, you see these pullbacks in, my goodness, CrowdStrike, Amazon, you have Facebook up there. Google had pretty lousy earnings the other day and fell off about 10%. Those are opportunities for the long-term investor, people that are out there looking to take more position in their accounts to buy in. You don't run from these sell-offs. You actually buy into them and sell, my goodness, when the markets go up. Don't do the reverse and buy high and sell low. Actually buy when the market is fearful and sell when the market is greedy.
Gotcha, my friend. Scott Martin, always good catching up with you on this and so much more.